Hi, so today I'm joined by new author Elise van Zeeland, who has written an incredible, unusual, and very needed book. And it's the book I wish I'd had 10 years ago, which is Thriving in Your Thirties: How to Do It All. And Elise and I and the team here have been working together for several months now behind the scenes, putting this book together. There's quite a story behind it, especially around its launch. So we're going to jump into that. Today, Elise is dialing in from Dubai.
Riyadh, actually, Saudi
Sorry,
Arabia.
Riyadh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, Elise, really grateful that you could join us. Very appreciative of your time. Could you give everyone a quick introduction?
Of course. Thanks, Georgia, for the opportunity. So my name is Elise van Zeeland. I'm Dutch originally, but currently living in Saudi Arabia. Moved here 2 years ago, actually in October 2023, for a job, first in the energy sector and then in the healthcare sector where I'm currently working. Well, we'll talk about that later. I'm actually not currently working, but there is a bit of a story to that. So I recently launched the book Thriving in Your Thirties because I felt that there was a gap in the book market, a book that I wish existed to help me thrive in my 30s because I think we can do it all. I live here together with my partner. And yeah, I don't know what else you want to dive into or that we dive into more later.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Well, I'm intrigued by the subtitle "How to Do It All" because what I find it fascinating about this topic is, and as it's probably clear, this is aimed primarily at women, although it doesn't necessarily have to be, right? Because the
No.
principles apply to everybody. Certainly there is a narrative, there's a social narrative, there's a commentary around women and having it all, and so to me, this is actually quite provocative in a way. It's quite controversial, but in the right way. The quote down here is because your 30s is where the magic happens. And I think, now the 30s are the new 20s, right? There's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of opportunity, but everything happens there. But you're supposed to have it together with your career. You're supposed to buy a house, get married, have a family, deal with all the kind of other twists and turns. Your parents are starting to age. Things don't go to plan, but no one necessarily equips you for what to do when that happens. So it's a very confusing time where you're kind of not, you don't quite have the nurture that you might have had in your younger years. So this to me is like, okay, wow, that's amazing. That's so promising, but how, And
Yeah.
of course, that's exactly what the book does. So tell me about what this means.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's I have to say it's also the ultimate trigger for people since the book has launched because a lot of people say like how to do it all. We should take that pressure away, right? And I think the whole book is actually writing about how to do your all because I think we live too much each other's lives, and especially the world we live in now. You can see everything on social media, right? Everybody's doing everything, or so it looks like, or so it feels like. And this book is actually talking about like who are you and what do you want to do and how can you do it all? Meaning, how can you do your all? However, if we would have written "How can you do your all" on as a subtitle, I don't think it would have generated the same trigger that it's doing for people now. So I really like it because it sparks a debate.
Yeah.
And I think, as exactly as you're saying, your 30s are the years where so many things need to happen. It's very often a time where you indeed like take on more responsibilities, maybe a mortgage, maybe a car, maybe you move abroad. What are you going to do with your relationship? Is this the one you want to be in? Is this the one maybe you want to have kids with or not, right? How do you detach yourself from your parents whilst still maybe taking more care of them due to their age? How do you become your own individual, right? And how do you know what is important for you? And how can you secure that you live the life that you actually want to live? And I think this book is a combination of anecdotes of my own life, because I would say that my 30s have been a bit of a whirlwind up to now, which I absolutely loved. But I think there was so much in my mindset that made me love it. Whilst you could also think like, okay, this is intense, everything is happening. I mean, I moved abroad, I changed jobs, I changed industries, changed partners, made all kind of like life-changing decisions that has created, well, has contributed to the creation of this life that I truly love. But I think that we struggle with that in our 30s, and having a bit of like a toolbox and a way of navigating that would benefit everyone. So I'm hoping to do that in this book. So a sneak peek, there's a formula in it with 4 principles, and actually I say that if you apply those 4 principles you can thrive in your 30s. Having said that, and you also said it, the book is targeted at women in their 30s, but also a lot of people have read it. Amongst one man who is almost 70, who said, like, Elise, why is this targeting women and why in their 30s? I absolutely love it. Still the principles you need to live by, right? So I think it is for everyone who is intrigued on like how can you stay true to yourself and how can you do your all.
Yes, now that kind of leads to a really interesting question, isn't it? When and when an author first comes to us and they say, and we're talking about reader profiling, and you'll remember from the early days of your process, it's kind of a big focus. Got to create something that's got a clear targeted audience, otherwise it's going to feel diluted. It's not going to
Yeah.
be a clear message, etc. But what do you do when the message is universal? And this is like
Yeah.
so many authors feel this way.
Yeah.
Anybody could, of course, a man in his 70s, a woman in their late
Yeah.
20s, a women in their 50s, someone else. So, but you have an answer to this, and you have the formula as well to kind of tell me
Yeah.
about why you decided to communicate in this way about this formula to this group.
Well, I think we also had conversations about this together that we said, like, you need to find your niche, right? You need to know who you write it for. And in the end, I'm not a man from the age of 70. I'm a woman in my 30s. So I thought it's better to sort of like share the kind of anecdotes that could be relatable for them and then link it to those four principles, right? So I think it's very important if you write a book, yeah, you can think that it's for everyone, but the people that are interested, they will read it anyway. So I've also heard that like the mom of a male colleague is reading the book just because he spoke about me, she was intrigued, so she's reading the book, right? So I think it will spread anyways. But being true to like your core audience, I think is most important, mainly because for me, the book was also, I mean, it's been in my head for quite some time before we got it on paper, right? But it was always focused on this time in your life where you go from like, okay, I cannot really lean on other people anymore. I'm supposed to do it on my own, but how do I do it on my own, right? I mean, how am I supposed to know how my pension works, how I'm going to arrange this mortgage, what kind of life choices to make? So with that kind of lens, we just decided to go for like the target group for me, women in their 30s. And of course, 30s is broad, right? I mean, you can be in your 20s, feel like you're in your 30s, in your 40s, feel like you're still in your 30s, everything. But it's a bit more to like demarcate what kind of area of our life we're talking about.
Yeah, and this is exactly it. And so you've got a really clear group, a clear message targeted directly at that group, but you're still catering for the others out there who can benefit from the principles. And
Yeah.
that's, those are the ingredients of a great book. It shares timeless principles. You just know who your primary audience is. And that's why it doesn't say how women can do it all.
No, exactly.
It's
That's
how
true.
to do
It's
it
true.
all.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I think also, I mean, like in your 30s is where the magic happens, right? What we put as a subtitle on the book. It is so true because I think there's also this societal, nah, I don't know if it's stigma or like, but it's also seen as like there are tough years, everything comes together, it's so intense. I mean, like you're really struggling, which is not the case, right? I mean, it's all mindset. If you're kind to yourself, if you dare to prioritize, if you dare to make choices and embrace them, then it's absolutely fantastic that you can lay the foundation on how you want to live your life in these years, which is not guided anymore by the studies that you might have chosen because one of your parents might have recommended it to you, right? I mean, it's really this decade where you make your own choices.
Yeah.
And I think we should add a little spark to that and enjoy it a little bit more,
Yeah.
how we're doing it.
I agree, because it can get stressful, but it doesn't need to.
I agree.
I read a quote by Keanu Reeves, actually. He lived in the Chateau Marmont on the Sunset Boulevard on his own for years. And he was asked, don't you get lonely? Don't you want to put down roots? Don't you want a family? Don't you want a home? And he was like, I've just got to learn how to look after yourself, and then it's
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite poignant because how many people surround themselves with certain anchors and comforts because they
Yeah.
don't know how to look after themselves. And actually, then when you do, how different do the choices that you make consciously become? Can you give
Yeah.
us a little insight into some of the wisdom that you share?
Yeah. So, besides the fact that Keanu Reeves has said a lot of interesting stuff and he's really intriguing human being, one of the things that relates a little bit to the quote you just mentioned in the book is one of the principles of be kind to yourself,
Mm.
right? Because I think we put so much pressure on ourselves, which makes us feel that we're not doing it all and that we're constantly failing in all parts. And you see this particularly with women in their 30s when they are at that next career step, right? Are they going to take up that promotion? Are they going to pursue that promotion? whilst they might also have a young family at home, right? And they feel that it's all too much and they're short on all fronts. And I think if we're just a little bit kinder to ourselves, tapping ourselves on the shoulder for what we can do and what we are doing, and of course, still challenging ourselves because it's also the years where you can make these massive steps in your life. But there is so much judgment that we put on ourselves where everything needs to be in an extreme. So we need to work out, we need to be social, we need to spend time with family, we have the career, we need to be a great partner, we need to have date nights. I mean, everything needs to happen. Whilst you can also embrace, like, this is the period where I'm focusing or I'm prioritizing A and B, and I'm letting C and D lay for a little bit, and I'm accepting that, and I'm kind to myself for not focusing on those things, right? And I think if I look around me, that we don't do that enough, actually. And I think there's also this, yeah, you need to, I also say it in the book, in the end, all you have is yourself, right? So you collect memories for when you're ever in an elderly home to share with someone else that you might meet at that point in time. But it's you who you will have in that elderly home. You don't know if your partner or your friends or your family is still around. So you need to make sure that you're content with what you're doing, with the choices that you've made. Don't have any regrets. Just live with the consequences of the choices that you've made and go for it, right? And I think that is just we should all do that much, much more.
Yeah, you're so right. It gets kind of beaten out of us, doesn't it? I think by the time we reach, 30s, particularly late 30s, looking at 40s and ahead, at which point, you can safely consider yourself a proper grown up. That actually, by this point, you've been through the education system, you've been
So true.
through kind of like life slapping you around the face a little bit. And it's kind of like, actually, I'm really just better off behaving. I'm just better
Yeah,
off making
yeah,
smaller, safer choices that don't put me and my maybe a family that I'm building in any kind of
yeah,
jeopardy. And calculate and minimize and avoid any risk. And there's
yeah,
lots of big, scary things happening around us in the world as well these days, with
yeah,
much more frequency than I think there used to be. So I think we generally live in a more a scarier kind of place, to look at
yeah.
it one way. So I think it's easy to avoid those harder choices and to really advocate for yourself and stand up for yourself. This is
Mhm.
the part of your book that I see as being so relevant. Like, women have always needed to hear this because we've lots of social and political reasons that I won't delve into, but
Yeah,
I'm sure most of us, hopefully, or all of us, are aware of. But men now live in this, this world as well, where, whilst again, if this generalization offends, I'm sorry, but this is my view. The world's catered significantly more for men. Everything's been built for
yeah.
men.
Well,
But nonetheless, still, they have these same difficulties, right?
so absolutely true. But I think, I mean, it's also a fact that the majority of society is still tailored and created for by men, right? Luckily, it's changing. But I think there's also a lot in the book about like how can you create a network around you that actually lifts you up. So if you
Yeah.
have the feeling that you're, for example, working in a male-dominated environment and they're not bringing out the best in you, take a look around you. Do you have the right network? Do you have the right friends? Do you have the right people that fit this particular point in your life that can help you thrive and that can help you lift up, right? Because I think if you don't dare to keep reassessing your life with what you actually need, you might feel like you get stuck in this society or the workplace or by colleagues that more bring you down instead of let you grow. But I think it requires a bit of time and momentum for yourself, right? So if you don't prioritize yourself, you will never take the moment to assess where is my life actually at this point in time and where do I like it to be? And
Mhm.
how am I going to come from A to B? If you just let your life live you, I mean, you're giving away the steering wheel, right? And what I'm saying in the book is like, take it back and live your own life. But that requires to truly look at yourself and say, like, this is where I'm currently standing. This is where I want to be. This is what I actually find important. And I mean, I'm also sharing anecdotes in the book about like how that can be really different than what your friends think is important or what your partner thinks is important, right? And I think that can sometimes be difficult because then you can think like, oh, but maybe this is really important. Maybe I should prioritize that. And that is exactly where I think it goes wrong because then you start to live someone else's life. And then you
Mm.
start to live someone else's priority. Whilst exactly in this world where so many things are happening, you need to decide what do you want to spend your time and energy on because it's it's available in abundance, but it's also limited, right? So with all the hours that you have in the week, with all the weeks that you have in your life, you want to make sure that you look back and you think like, yeah, I got out of it what I want to get out of it. And that doesn't always mean that you need to be 100% or 110% efficient and effective. Can also be that you fully embrace that you're chilling, relaxing, just doing one thing or focusing on one thing, right? But you need to do it with true belief that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, yeah, good, good, good. Okay. So this is powerful stuff because this is kind of like a very warm kick up the backside to address your life choices and have to but with guidance, how to build courage to make better, different choices, possibly. Um, why put this together in a book? Why a book? Why not just know this for yourself?
Well, it's a fair question, right? But I think there are two answers to it. So every year on New Year's Eve, I write down a list of 10 things that I want to accomplish in the upcoming year. And for the last 2 years, there was on, okay, think about this book idea that I'm walking around with. Think if you can land on the first chapter. And then for this year, it was like actually create the book. I mean, sometimes you also need to give yourself a little bit of the nudge to really get it on paper. But why in a book format? Why not in a diary for myself? Is because I feel that this message can really help other women thrive and other people thrive. But I think there's so much out there and there's so many books out there. And I mean, I love to read all of those sort of like self-help books. And also in the book, I'm taking out the best parts of those books and share them with my reader, right? So you can save yourself the trouble from reading some of the other books. You can read my book and it will have those elements in it that will help you create a life that you actually want and that you're after. And I think what we did in the book is really make sure that we touch on all the sort of like important elements of life in your 30s. So yes, it's career, yes, it's family, it's relationships, but it's also the network, right? It is your personal health, it is your mental health, it's the importance of empathy, not just your IQ. And it's sort of like touching base on all those elements where you might feel like, am I doing the right thing? Am I investing enough time in it? And we create, or I create, but of course with the help from you and your team, we've created a lens for people to look at it and hopefully take that on board. And I think if I wouldn't have written it down in a book, yeah, you keep knowledge to yourself, and why would you do that, right? I mean, it's here to share, and that was just the whole intent to like share a bit of my personal experience, my personal journey, and what I think is the formula for a happy and healthy life with other people, so they can also make use of it.
Amazing. And I think it was Einstein, in fact, that said, if you can't find the book you want to read, then you've got to write it. So
Yeah,
that's what
well,
you've done.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, okay, well, there we go. Einstein approved, everyone. Right. Let's talk about launch.
Yeah,
Launch had some twists and turns.
yeah,
I'll let you share your experience because this book. Sorry, just to preface this, this was put together over how many months? Maybe 6 months.
yeah. A little over half a year, I think, in the
Yeah,
end.
over half a
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
So a lot of love, a lot of time, a lot of energy, hard work
yeah.
into this. And so you get to launch week, and then so I didn't actually know that you were pregnant in the first half of the project,
Yeah.
and that came to light when I'll let you
Yeah.
tell the
Well,
story.
I think, I mean, it is also part of like how to do it all. You can do it all. I was indeed pregnant whilst I wrote this book and working full time, set up a women's network on the side as well, doing a language course, etc. So you can do all kind of things. It's just about like how you want to spend your time, but more on that in the book. Um, the thing was that we felt we were ready for launch and we chose to not do it in the middle of the summer, but in September, which I think was good. Also because I was heavily pregnant this summer. So we felt we had a bit more time for sort of like the final tweaks and dots on the i's. And then we decided to launch September 11th on a Thursday. And the weekend here in Saudi Arabia starts on Friday and Saturday. So it was the day before the weekend. So I also thought like this is a great day for me to be able to like follow up with things that might happen on the Thursday. And I mean, it was spectacular timing because actually the night from the 11th on the 12th, my water broke and our little boy arrived into the world, which feels almost like he knew that the book launch was happening and that he just waited and he came right after. So yeah, it was an incredible week, and yeah, really spectacular. But also massive thanks to the team that supported me and that helped step in with this sudden change because he wasn't expected yet on that date, but he decided to come already. Yeah.
Oh, it's such beautiful news. Honestly, when I got the email, I was so happy for you, but it is amazing timing. It is. It's like he
Yeah.
just was like, okay,
Yeah.
now I
Yeah,
can try.
really. It was because at that evening we actually planned with some friends to have some drinks and celebrate the book. And I canceled it because I said to them, like, I'm really not feeling well. Can we postpone it to next week? And then, of course, the not feeling well led to something
That's
beautiful.
going to labor. Oh my God. It is amazing, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
I mean, what a double celebration. What a
Yeah.
week for you.
Yeah.
And and this, at the time of recording, it's not that long ago. Like, here you are on camera looking absolutely beautiful and amazing. So
Thanks.
you are living and breathing this how to do it all. Doesn't have to be this like, you know, pretending or
No,
feeling really stressed. Or
no.
there'll be a lot of people watching this who can't quite believe that,
No.
you kind of taking this in your stride and you have certain support systems in place.
But it's true, right? But it's also doing your own. So let me also share that like it's been a few weeks now since he is born when we record this. And of course, some makeup always helps. Putting on a jacket always helps. And wearing sweatpants underneath, right? So it is also like, what do you prioritize? Not dressing up in a full suit, but like half of a suit, right? For something that is important to you. And I think it's all about like, do you really dare to prioritize? So there are a lot of people that feel, for example, if they're in their 30s and they have this phase with a newborn that all they do is take care of the newborn. Yeah, it's true. Embrace it, right? Embrace it. When you go back to work, you can shine at work again, right? And you can put in all you have there. But it doesn't mean that if you feel that you want to do more, that you can only take care of your newborn. So I also noticed after like a few weeks that you go like, okay, some energy is coming back. Let me pick up something, right? So that's also why I said like, let's have this conversation now because I feel ready for things to be picked up in my life. And sometimes people say, yeah, okay, you have very high energy levels. It's different for you. But my message in the book is it's not. Because if you live your own life and you're kind to yourself and you start to prioritize yourself, right? And you start to live your own life, it means it's different for everyone, but it's yours.
Mhm,
So own it how it's yours and don't compare it with someone else. And I
mhm.
think that is just hard in this time and age and with social media and everything. And we need to sort of like be perfect all the time. But nobody is, right? Think about the sweatpants I'm wearing. Nobody's perfect. So yeah, don't judge a book by its cover, we then say. Just read the book and you might learn a bit more.
And a bit more, absolutely, absolutely. There's a show called Motherland. Have you seen
Oh,
this show, Elise? So what you've just said is so beautiful and so eloquent, and I love the admission of sweatpants and to follow suits. I have yoga pants on as well. I know. So
exactly.
why not? This is what you've got to do, right? Because we're busy
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
But this show, Motherland, it is so funny. It's a comedy, and there's a character on there. She's a comedian, actually, ordinarily one of
yeah.
the actors, and she there's one of the mothers is always stressed, always half leaving something in the house, half out the door, running around, like really just like, oh my God, what now? And then there's this other one who's like completely chill, relaxed, and is always saying to the first one, well, you make life so hard on yourself. And there's a scene where her son has a birthday. She invites all these kids round, hasn't really prepared anything. And the stressed one is like, how do you do this? How are you not tearing your hair out? Where's your cake? Where's your and she
Oh
has
yeah,
the caterpillar cakes that you can buy in the
yeah,
supermarket. If you had them in Saudi Arabia, in the UK, you've got the caterpillar. And she just chops the head off one and chops the bottom off the other and puts it together. And it's just an extra long cake for all these kids. And they love
yeah,
it. And it
yeah. It's
kind of
brilliant.
like, it is, right. And it's kind of like I think it's that kind of approach that love, just like, how do we make this easier on ourselves
Yeah,
without sacrificing quality? Although
yeah,
you could argue the caterpillar story doesn't quite sum quality up, but
yeah. But it's
yeah.
true, right? I mean, I had that once in that someone said like make decisions and live with the consequences. And for me, that
Yeah.
is just like, yeah, okay. So she might not have the perfect cake, but is the kid really gonna remember the perfect cake? Probably not, right? Are they gonna remember the vibe? Yeah, probably, right? So she made the choice. I don't know, this is a TV series, but like, what if this was real life? She made the choice not to spend all her time and effort on a cake but on having probably a nice vibe, good time for the kids. And I think that is just
Mm.
something we should apply on more instances of our life. And I also know, like, I mean, sometimes people say like, oh, don't you ever chill, or you're doing so many things. But then I think like, of course I chill, but that's not something that you necessarily share on social media when you're laying on the couch watching Yellowstone, right? But I mean, that's a series that I've recently watched. I can tell you all about the episodes, and I'm more than happy to watch it again. But it's just like you need to find those moments where you recharge in a way that sort of like loads up your battery, that refills your cup, so you can thrive on the parts that are important in your life. But what we also talk about in the book is the whole idea of self-care. And self-care is actually the absence of self-judgment. And I think self-care is very often seen now as you need to get like your nails done in your matcha and you need to be all glamorous. And it's not self-care, right? Self-care is being kind to yourself, making sure that you do something that recharges you, not that recharges you, but it would recharge me, right? And it can be different for all of us. But daring to sort of like step into that life that is at your doorstep and it's the life that you can live, that's what I invite everyone to do.
Yeah, that's incredible. And it is an invitation, it is a that it's a rally call, as well. It's important that we don't take messages like this for granted. And so I really applaud you for putting this together for other people. And I think 30s is such a pivotal time. However, you don't just have a version of this message for women in their 30s. Uh, can you tell us a little bit more about some of the other kind of content and thinking that you have planned? Tell me if it's too soon to be talking about this.
Well, so what I can share maybe is that, and I don't know if this is what you're referring to, but on Substack, I started the Own Your Decade newsletter, right? Because it's actually about like owning your decade. And we've now started with our 30s, but this can also be about like flying in your 40s or fighting in your 50s or whatever, right? I mean, it can be about any decade that you have, but it's owning this phase of your life and showing up for yourself. And how can you do that? Because there's so many tools out there that can help you thrive. There's so much material, but I can also understand that you feel completely overwhelmed. So where do you start, right? So what if you want to read a really good self-help book? Or what if you're in doubt about like how to approach a network or how to expand your network or what kind of podcasts to listen to, right? So I'm trying to bring that all together on things that you can do to own your decade, thrive in your 30s. And well, hopefully there's more coming out of that, of course, because I think there is, from an inspirational perspective, so much to be shared. And there's so many elements in the book that can also be in a really good talk or in a workshop format, because we should all start to practice it.
Mm.
And then I think we would all be a little bit happier.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. Now, the book isn't just available in paperback, it's also available in hardback. And tell us some more about how other people can
Yeah. Well,
forward.
we have paperback and we have hardcover, but in what is it? A few weeks time, or
Yeah.
whenever you look at this, from mid-October onwards, there's also an audiobook, because we are mindful that people are very busy and that if they want to thrive in their 30s, you don't always want to sit down and read a book. So we also created an audiobook for everyone. There's also an ebook, but then you would still need to sit down and read it. The audiobook you can take with you on a walk, of course, or when you're cooking or whatever you're doing. And we hope that contributes to people that live a busy life but want to get more out of it, or that are not living a busy life but want to live a healthy life and want to listen to this during their daily steps.
Yes, wonderful. I'm really excited for the audiobook. And I also think, again, look, this video is going to be live at all times of year, okay? But,
Exactly.
you're approaching, the end of the year, the Christmas season. It always gives way to anybody who's growth focused or future focused
Yeah.
to a reflection period and then a recharge for January, right? Because we indulge towards the end of the year and then we look ahead at the year ahead and we're like, oh, whoops, I'm, a few pounds heavier than I intended to be. Maybe I made some of my New Year's resolutions last year, but others I forgot about, etc. So we all kind of, start to redefine. So, but of course, that redefining and that reflection can occur at any stage for anyone throughout the year, and it could just be a life event that's triggered some new thinking. So, this is an excellent opportunity. It's an excellent gift for the people in your life who need that encouragement to make some bolder, more self-focused choices without feeling guilty, and to understand that it really is for not just their own improvement, but the others around them. Like we need to put on our own oxygen masks first, and we're happier and healthier that way.
So true.
So
So true.
thank you, Elise, for putting this together.
Thank
It
you.
is on my gift list for, I don't know, actually, if you know this, I'm one of 8 siblings. So
I
uh,
didn't.
quite a few readers just in the Kirk family alone.
Fantastic, fantastic. No, thanks so much for the opportunity, and also a big thank you to you and the team for helping me and supporting me through this journey. Because I also think back about the first conversations that we've had, where I was like, "Is this a good idea? Does this work?" And at one point, you were reading a paragraph and you laughed out loud, and you were like, "Oh, this is really, really nice." And then I was like, "Okay, this is hitting the spot, right? If this is the response, then we're on the right track." So indeed, it's for everyone who's intrigued by personal growth or wants to get the most out of life, or is just simply triggered by the subtitle, then it's always a good read.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to share? And where can people find you to follow Elise's journey? You mentioned Substack as well, but I know you're on socials.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think if you think you have a book in you, go for it because it's always worth as a journey for yourself as well, right? I mean, getting your thoughts from your head onto paper, what I've done with you and the team has just been a tremendous journey. And I think also the response I'm getting now from people that they feel like I'm actually talking to them when they read the book, that's what you do it for, right? So if you are intrigued by this whole process, go for it, do it. You only live once, or at least so I think. So do it all. And I think people can follow me, of course, on LinkedIn, just via Elise van Zeeland or Elise van Zeeland on the pronunciation part. It's on the book, my name, via Substack, same name, or via Instagram, Dutchie Living Abroad, where I document my adventures living abroad and everything that comes with that.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much. Really appreciate you joining. I know your little one is, well, maybe fast asleep or at least keeping his
I
grandmother
just heard him.
occupied.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I will let you run and crack on with your day. Loved seeing you, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Bye.